Joining us now for more is host of the Fearless podcast with Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock, good to see you.
Thanks, Rob, for having me.
What's really odd about the NFL thing is that the NFL isn't even in season in the month of June. Why do they even care? Like, why even do this?
Well, Rob, the NFL is still woke. It's still into Black Lives Matter and that kind of sloganeering they like to put in the end zone. And they're still into the whole pride deal because the NFL is compromised and it's been blackmailed, in my view, by the legacy media. The whole concussion narrative was blown out of proportion to pressure the NFL to get on board with some of these other initiatives. That if you notice the mainstream media, the New York Times, ESPN, they've kind of left the concussion conversation alone as long as the NFL gets on board with the LGBTQ, BLM, the group that I like to call the alphabet mafia. The NFL is just, quite frankly, has been blackmailed and leveraged into getting on board with DEI and all the other woke policies. And so they're not backing away from the pride deal.
That's really interesting, Jason. I hadn't heard that before. You saw in the ad we just played, football is gay. You know, in the end zones, we still have end racism, BLM on players' helmets. Is this Roger Goodell sending that message to the legacy media so they don't cover traumatic brain injury and CTE?
Right. The whole concussion narrative brought the NFL to its knees. They former players filed a lawsuit, got a big payoff from the NFL over this. Roger Goodell's legacy was attached to how he addresses the concussion issue. I'm a former college football player.
Right.
Most of my friends are former football players at the collegiate level or the NFL level. There are some of us that truly, authentically believe the entire concussion narrative has been overblown and exaggerated. We've been playing football in a far less safe form of football previously, and there wasn't all this hysteria about Dick Butkus or Jim Brown, who was a great friend of mine,
Right.
had all of his faculties well into his 80s. A lot of former players did. This was exaggerated by the mainstream media, and it had the NFL at the brink of like real financial damage and Roger Goodell's job on the line. And so, to me, that was just a leverage play. We'll back off the concussion narrative.
So you're saying the legacy media exaggerate that? You're saying the concussion thing is not as bad. Is that what you're saying?
No question about it.
Like the stuff, what was that Will Smith movie? It came out, it was 10 years ago, 2015, Concussion came out, right?
The movie Concussion.
Yeah.
Look, Rob, we're talking about a disease or an injury or something that can only be diagnosed in death. What other disease is like that? And we need to open, I know I sound like a tinfoil hat guy, but it's no different than COVID. It's no different than COVID. They can
I didn't expect
manufacture
that
and
with
drum
this
up
segment.
whatever crisis they want to drum up.
Right. That's interesting. And we looked at every sport that's in season. So sports that are in season in June, they do stuff for pride, except the PGA is really good about it. They don't do much. The Masters doesn't do anything. But every sport that's in season does something, and sports that are not in season generally just leave it alone, except the NFL. That might explain it. I want to ask you about this Olympic boxer. I remember watching this boxer last summer, Aman Khalif. We know this is a man now. Tests proved that Aman Khalif, the Algerian boxer, is a guy. This guy won gold in Paris over the summer, last summer. Yet USA Boxing is now apologizing that his name was leaked in their mandatory testing announcement. Why haven't they apologized to the woman that he beat the heck out of and won the gold medal?
That's a great question, Rob, and that is who's owed an apology. And look, some women all over the globe that are facing this issue, men invading their sports, men with XY chromosomes who have no business competing against XX women. Women are just the invasion of women's sports, but by this whole trans issue, everybody's owed an apology. But again, there's a force stronger than common sense that's ruling much of global culture.
Yeah.
And we all have to sit around and pretend like there's no physical advantage for somebody with an XY chromosome. And we know it's not true.
Information. Truth is freedom. is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.